the delivery courier suddenly received a strange package, one that was almost impossible to see with the naked eye. He had to use a magnifying glass to make out the recipient's information. It turned out to be a miniature planet. Although the surface looked barren, this tiny planet was actually highly developed. Poor Gear had only gone out to buy some bread, and when he came out, he found that everything outside had drastically changed. For some unknown reason, the residents of the city had begun to flee in panic. When he looked more closely, he saw that a huge unidentified object had suddenly appeared above the city, and that massive unidentified object was actually just the foot of a man. The man had just planned to take a step forward when he heard cries for help from beneath his foot. Strangely, he stared at the ground for a long time but didn't notice anything unusual, so he instantly turned into a demon and destroyed an entire city in an instant. At this moment, television channels all over the world were reporting on this terrifying catastrophe. Because it happened so suddenly, the residents of this planet didn't even know who the source of the disaster was. This family had originally only wanted to spend a pleasant weekend together, but instead they witnessed something that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. The horrifying disaster kept escalating, and the army disappeared before they had time to assemble. The most ridiculous thing was that the culprit behind all of this was still wandering around the planet. Not only that, he casually threw a soda bottle onto the ground, just a piece of trash to him, but for this planet, it was like a nuclear bomb. Gear never expected that he was merely spacing out by the roadside and almost lost his life. Just then, a massive object rolled over from behind him, and Gear started running for his life. He finally found a bicycle, only to discover it was locked. He then found a car, but it was out of gas. Meanwhile, the courier had searched for a long time but still couldn't find the recipient, so he had no choice but to call the number. When the call connected, all he heard was screaming. What the courier didn't know was that his customer was currently fleeing for his life. Gear, who had just tripped, watched death slowly approach and closed his eyes in despair. When he opened them again, he was shocked to find he was still alive. It turned out that the courier had followed the sound and located the soda bottle, but even then he still couldn't see anything. Frustrated, he kicked the bottle out into space. At that moment, his customer was clinging to the soda bottle. Their homeland destroyed, the citizens could no longer tolerate it. They sent out a troop to launch a fierce attack on the man. But to the courier, these attacks were completely imperceptible. In the end, unable to find the customer, the courier prepared to return to his ship. But upon re-entering the cockpit, he discovered that the package had disappeared. He searched for a long time but couldn't find it. Since he couldn't contact the recipient, the man simply pretended the task was completed and planned to leave the planet. Seeing the disaster finally depart, the entire population began to cheer. Unfortunately, they celebrated too soon. The spacecraft's thrusters released massive flames, instantly burning the planet to ashes. And at that moment, Gear, floating in space, became the sole survivor. He had lost his home, but he had received his package.